Hello and welcome back to our second half hour of Vaughan and Vivo, and we're going to continue telling this story. Now you will hear the rest of the story about my second wedding. I married a lovely Spanish lady, the most beautiful woman in Spain. Qué suerte tuve yo, he tenido. In 1977, and then the following year, in July 1978, I took her to visit my family, my parents, who at that time were living in Corpus Christi, Texas. Corpus Christi, como aquí se dice para el festival, the religious festival of Corpus Christi. Now, Corpus Christi is located in the south of Texas, not too far from the Rio Grande River, the border with Mexico. And it's located on the coast. Por cierto, Texas tiene costa. La gente piensa que no aquí, Piensa que es como en las películas del oeste, que hay desierto y nada más. Okay? Y calaveras de los cuernilargos estos, de las vacas. But no, and it's not true. Texas is a very big state. It's bigger than Spain and Portugal together. And it has a lot of different climates. And it has a coastline, a beautiful coastline. Okay? Coastline is línea costera. A very beautiful coastline. And Corpus Christi is the most important coastal city in Texas, with a population now, I think, of 350,000. 350,000. Maybe it's like La Coruña, perhaps. Maybe a little bit bigger. And it's very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. One of the most beautiful cities in the world, in my opinion. And there are a lot of beautiful cities in Spain included in that group of the most beautiful cities in the world. Especially coastal cities like San Sebastián, Santander, Coruña, Vigo. They're all very pretty. And down in the south, too. So, I took her to meet my parents, no, to see my parents in July, and we went to the county courthouse. Court is tribunal. Courthouse is sala de juicios, o casa de los tribunales. And the courthouse is lo que se llama el juzgado, en este caso, del condado. And the county, Corpus Christi, is located in a county called Nueces County. Nueces, okay? Now, a nuez in English is walnut. Wall como pared, quitando la última L, y añadiendo nut, N-U-T, nut. Walnut is nuez, okay? Walnut. So it's Walnut County, but it's a Spanish, from Mexican and Spanish influence, it's Nueces County. And so, Juan Carlos, our friend here, was asking me questions, boom, 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 a lot of questions. Es muy inquisitivo hoy, okay? He was asking me a lot of questions about my marriage in Spain and my second wedding in the United States. And I explained to him that my wife and I, when we settled down and arrived in Corpus Christi, we went to the courthouse with the libro de familia, with the idea of validating our marriage and of registering our union in the United States. And we went up to a window. We went up to a window. Y no estuvimos subiendo. Aunque yo digo, fuimos arriba a una ventanilla, en este caso, window. To go up to is acercarse a una persona o una cámara. I can go up to the camera. Yendo, no viniendo. Si alguien se me acerca a mí, digo, come up to. Okay? So we went up to a window, which wasn't really a window, it was simply a counter. And the lady, we gave the libro de familia to the lady, the civil servant. En inglés se dice sirviente civil en vez de funcionario. And she looked at it and says, this is interesting, what's this? And we said, it's our marriage license, licencia matrimonial. Así se dice en inglés. En Estados Unidos es una sola hoja, muy bonita, por cierto, una sola hoja, un poco como partida de nacimiento. It was our marriage license. And she said, well, this is a book. This looks like a passport. I said, yes, but it's not a passport. It's called the family book. And it constitutes the marriage license in Spain. And they said, oh, that's interesting. Very nice lady, typical Texas female, very interested. Oh, I like it. And she says, and this page, what is this page for? Well, this page and the next 3 or 4 are putting the names of the children. Ah, that's interesting. The marriage license includes a section for your children. Yes. Ah. Okay, well, you need to translate it in order to validate your marriage. And I said, oh, let me see. And I personally looked through to see how much information and how much literature was in it. I said, no problem, no problem. But the last two pages were full of small print. Small print is letra pequeña. I said, Dios mío. It's probably 1,000 words. I don't have well, I had time, pero no tenía ganas de traducir eso. I don't feel like translating. I would need about 3 or 4 hours to translate the Libro de Familia. And I said to the woman, is there anything we can do? Do I have to translate it? Do I have to? Fijaos en la entonación. Usamos esta entonación mucho cuando es, no tengo más remedio, lo tengo que hacer por narices. Do I have to? And she said, no, you don't have to. Well, what can we do? You can get married. But we got married in Spain. Well, you can get married again here. You mean get married twice? Why not? And she said, so I said, how? You go to door number 23. Where? You see that hall? You go down and turn left and go, and that's door number 23. And what is there? Well, that's the office of the Justice of the Peace. El despacho del juez de paz. Yeah. There are 3 justices of the peace in this building for Nueces County. And you go there. His name is Mr., I think it was Alvarez. It was a Spanish name. Judge Alvarez. Okay. And we went. My wife and I walked down looking for door number 23. And come in. And we opened the door. And there was a desk and a girl. Said, may I help you? Yes, we are coming to get married. Oh, very good. Well, pass in here. Come through this door. And we went through another door. And there, the secretary introduced us to the Justice of the Peace, el juez de paz. Decimos en inglés, el juez de la paz, okay? The Justice of the Peace. Justice escrito. No se dice judge. Judge es un juez que dicta en los tribunales. Justice es juez de este tipo, juez de paz. The Justice of the Peace. También los jueces del Tribunal Supremo en Estados Unidos se llaman justice. The justices. There are 9 justices. And the Chief Justice is a presidente del Tribunal Supremo. Okay. So, the secretary introduced my wife and me. Digo me, no I, porque es complemento directo. The secretary introduced my wife and me to the Justice of the Peace, Mr. Alvarez. And Mr. Alvarez was a Mexican-American. Very clearly, he was Mexican blood. And he stood up, and he was about 180 kilos. He said, good morning. Are you here to get married? I said, yes. Okay. He said, let me put on my tie. Déjame que me ponga la corbata. And he went to a coat rack. Coat rack is, creo que es perchero, decís, no? Perchero, yes. Okay. Coat rack. And he took off his tie, only the tie, and he put on his tie. Now, it was interesting because he was so fat that he couldn't button his top button. And he put on that, and he couldn't put the tie all the way up. But that was no problem for him. He did the best he could, and he came around in front of his desk, and he said to the secretary, he said, will you be the witness? Usted quiere ser la testigo de la boda, porque tiene que haber testigo. A witness, doble S al final. Wit, W-I-T, y luego Ness como Loch Ness, el monstruo este. Would you like to be a witness? And she said, yes. Pero no tengo arroz. She said, I don't have any rice. Okay. And so it was practically, I think it was a funny for them. Okay. And then when the man, Mr. Alvarez, realized that my wife was Spanish, oh, he said, Española. And she said, sí. Ay, qué bonito el acento. Castellano. Because now in Corpus Christi, Texas, in the south of Texas, they say, este es una taza y voy a beber de la taza, y voy a manejar mi carro al estacionamiento. Okay? And to hear my wife saying, speaking with la Z y la C, pronunciada así, he was very impressed. It's not often a person in that area of Texas can speak to an authentic Castellano Viejo, because my wife's family is from Avila and Segovia and part from Galicia, so he was impressed. And so he said to us, would you like me to conduct the ceremony in Spanish? And we said, sure, yeah, no problem. The secretary, and he said to the secretary, I'm sorry, I'm going to conduct the ceremony in Spanish. And in a question of only about 5 minutes, we had to take off our rings and exchange the rings. I had my wife's ring, and she had mine. And he opened a book, big family, very funny man, and he began the typical words that you have to use to marry two people. And I remember perfectly well the moment of entregale el anillo. I didn't understand him, because at that moment, which is one of the most important moments of a wedding ceremony, he said, "Entriégale el anillo." I said, "Excuse me, perdone? Entriégale el anillo." Ah, and I was interested. That's interesting, entriego, okay. But apparently, maybe in that part of Texas or in Old Spanish, maybe it's correct. Who knows? Maybe originally, 200 years ago in Spain, you said, "Yo le entriego mi alma," okay, etc. So we did it, and we got married. And the secretary again said, "I'm sorry, but I have no tengo arroz. I have no rice." So we got married twice. And the following day, our names appeared in the Corpus Christi newspaper with a circulation of about 100,000 people. No está mal. Our names was there as people who got married the day before in Nueces County. Okay? And next to that was a list of people who were granted divorces. Divorcios concedidos. And it was longer than the one who got married. But nevertheless, and the following day we returned to the county courthouse, and they gave us a beautiful marriage license. Okay? Se despliega así como un abanico. And so I got married twice. Okay, that's the story, Juan Carlos.
Oh, nice story.
It's a nice story. And ask me how long we stayed in Corpus Christi.
For how long?
Scene 4.
How long did you stay in Corpus Christi?
Ahora sí voy a contestar con el for, pero la pregunta no lo requiere. How long did you stay? ¿Cuánto tiempo estuvimos o permanecimos? How long did we stay in Corpus Christi? We stayed there for 1 month. Ask me why we stayed there so long. Ask me why we stayed there so long.
Why? Excuse me.
Why did you? Are you losing your voice?
Yes, a little bit.
Whisper. Why did you?
Why did you
Stay there
stay there
so long?
so long?
Because Corpus Christi is a beautiful town. It's a beautiful city. And it has a fantastic beach. And the beach is, you let me know when you have your voice back, okay? And the beach is about 200 kilometers long. You see, on the coast of Texas, there's an island. And the island is 200 kilometers long and about half a kilometer wide. So it's como una lengüeta, muy baja. And between the island and the mainland, tierra firme, yeah, is a body of water that is about 1 kilometer wide. Okay, and it's called the Intercoastal Waterway. Intercostal, o sea, de costa. Intercoastal Waterway. And that waterway continues from Mexico along through Texas, Louisiana, New Orleans, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, and around. It's a strange geological phenomenon.
Yes, it
but
is.
most of the coast, a lot of the coast, up to New York City, practically contains the Intercoastal Waterway. And it's used for barcazas, barges, for slow transport, for products that don't require urgent transport.
Yes.
For example, arena, sand, okay, or coal, carbon, can be put on the Intercoastal Waterway. And then the island in that area of Texas is called Padre Island. Padre Island.
Padre like padre.
No, Padre. Well, se dice Padre. Okay, Padre Island. No es Father Island. It's Padre Island. Pero de un padre católico. Not padre de padre madre. You understand?
Yes, I do.
It comes from the religious.
From the
como
religious.
fraile o padre, etc. It's called Padre Island. Now, Padre Island is about 200 kilometers long. And the beaches are fantastic. And you can drive your car on the beach. The beach is so long that you take your car on the beach and you drive.
Through the beach?
No, through the beach, no, down the beach. O sea, bajando o subiendo lo que es la playa for 20 kilometers if you want. You stop your car, you park your car next to the water. The water's coming in
yes.
next to the water. Ask me if I like those beaches.
Do you like those beaches?
Yes, I do. Ask me if there are any drawbacks.
Are there any drawbacks?
Si algún inconveniente? Yes, there is. There are two drawbacks. Ask me what the two drawbacks are.
What are the two drawbacks?
Los dos inconvenientes de esas playas tan
Yes.
bonitas. Number one, it's the Gulf of Mexico. And the Gulf of Mexico isn't blue. Ask me what color the Gulf of Mexico is.
What color the Gulf
Is
the Gulf of Mexico?
the Gulf of Mexico is bluish gray. Un azul grisáceo, o un gris azulado. Okay? It's bluish gray or grayish blue. Ask me why it has that color.
Why
Does it
have that color?
Because the Gulf of Mexico is practically an enclosed sea, es un mar casi encerrado. If you look at the map of North America and South America, you see the Caribbean, el Caribe, and then you see Florida, la península de Florida, goes down. It almost touches Cuba. And Cuba goes over and almost touches Yucatan, the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico. And on the other side is the Gulf of Mexico, where you have Mexico, Texas, Louisiana. So it's very enclosed. And there's only two outlets, salidas de agua, that's between one tip, una punta, one tip of Cuba and Merida, and that area of Cancun on the Yucatan Peninsula. And on the other side, the other tip, the opposite tip of Cuba, and the tip of Florida, donde Schwarzenegger iban con los coches y con el avión. I don't know if you saw Mentiras Arriesgadas.
Yes, I
did. You see it?
Yes.
Y la persecución en esos carreteras sobre el agua. It's there. Almost touches Cuba. And so, the Gulf of Mexico doesn't have much contact with the Atlantic Ocean or the Caribbean. Now, around the Gulf of Mexico, many very important rivers deposit minerals, especially the Mississippi. Okay? You have the Mississippi River there, but you have many other rivers at the same time, every year for millennia, depositing minerals from the land in the United States, in Mexico, in Honduras, and they deposit it there. And so it has changed the color of the Gulf of Mexico, all right? But still, the water is clean, but it doesn't look clean, okay? Ask me what the second drawback is.
What is the second drawback?
Okay, the second drawback is both off the coast, con doble F, off the coast of Mexico, Texas, and Louisiana, you have oil platforms. You understand? You can
Yes.
see them in the distance. It's very interesting to see them in the distance, perhaps 10 kilometers, because they are enormous oil platforms. And from time to time, these platforms have small accidents. Big no, but small accidents. And when that happens, you have oil coming onto the beach. Okay? And so it happens once every 5 years, once every 10 years, but not a lot. Not like a big oil spill, un derrame grande de petróleo, un escape, but just some. And so that happens sometimes. All right? Have you ever been to Texas?
No, I haven't.
Have you ever been to the States?
Yes, I have.
How many times have you been there?
I've been to the States once.
Just once?
Just once.
How old were you when you went there?
I was 21 years old.
Mm-hmm. Did you go alone?
Yes, I flew alone to an English language school.
Ah, okay, so you flew alone. Volé solo. Fui en avión solo. You flew to America alone to attend an English school.
Yes.
To improve your English.
Yes.
Okay.
For only 1 month.
Well, 1 month is a lot of time. What
Yes.
city did you fly to?
I flew to San Francisco.
It's a long flight. Was
It's
it
a
a
long
non-stop flight?
It was a non-stop flight. Yes, it was.
Madrid, San Francisco,
Yes.
without sin escala técnica,
Without any technique. Well,
without a
we
stopover
may have stopped over Washington.
in Washington.
In Washington.
Then it wasn't a non-stop flight. It was a direct flight. Did you change planes?
No, I didn't.
Okay, then it was a direct flight. Que es un vuelo directo pero con escala.
Yes.
But you say a non-stop, N-O-N-stop, non-stop flight is sin escalas. Directo sin escalas. It was a non-stop flight. Okay. And so you spent a month in San Francisco. Is that right?
Actually, I spent 1 month not far from San Francisco,
Where-
in a
what-
small city called Fresno.
Oh, Fresno, California is very famous.
Yes.
Okay, Fresno, California. Fresno. Okay.
Yes.
And did you enjoy the stay?
I enjoyed the stay very much.
Did you live in a hotel, in a student residence, or in a private home?
We lived in a private home
Why do you say we?
because there were 2 students living in the house.
Were they Spanish?
No, the other student was Mexican,
One student was Mexican and the other?
and the other was Japanese.
Okay. Did you speak Spanish with the Mexican student?
No, we prefer to speak English.
Okay, good. Did you learn a lot of English in San Francisco?
Yes, I learned a lot of English there.
How many hours of class did you have every day?
We had 6 hours. Every day, 6 hours of
In a
class.
group or a private class?
In a group.
How many students were there in your group?
10 students per group.
It's a lot. Was it expensive?
Well, I don't consider it was expensive because
está bien
everything
dicho,
was
pero dilo de
included.
esta forma. For me, it wasn't expensive.
For me, it wasn't.
Why not?
Because everything was included.
Included, ¿qué significa?
Included.
No, por favor. That's the second time you've made that mistake. Try to remember not to make it, okay? Because many times, if you say included, people won't understand what you're saying, okay? Included. So everything was included. The flight?
Yes, the flight.
Food? Was food included?
Food.
3 meals a day?
2 meals a day.
Okay. What meals did you have at the house?
Breakfast and dinner.
Was the food good?
Yes, very good. Homemade food.
Homemade food. So there were 3 foreigners, you, a Mexican man, a young Mexican man,
Yes.
and a Japanese man,
Yes.
living with a woman or living with a family?
Living with a family, a woman-ruled family.
Una familia dirigida por la mujer.
Yes.
Is that a woman?
Yes.
No. A family where the mother or the woman was in charge.
Yes, a family where the mother was in charge.
Good. And were there any children in the family?
And there were one teenager and the grandmother.
And was the father there?
No?
Okay. Were they divorced or was she a widow?
I think she was widow.
A widow.
She was a widow.
Era viuda, decís aquí. En inglés era una viuda. Okay, she was a widow. Es que en inglés ninguna palabra singular contable puede existir sin un complemento, sin un artículo bien determinado o indeterminado. El libro, un libro. No tengo coche, no tengo un coche. I don't have a car. No tengo esposa, por ejemplo. No tengo mujer. I don't have a wife. And she was a widow. All right. And was she a strong woman?
Yes, she was a strong woman.
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 All right. We'll come back another day to find out more about this interesting trip to San Francisco. Productive trip for you. It's been a pleasure. I have to continue, but it's been a pleasure to have you, and I hope to have you again sometime.
My pleasure.
Would you like to come back?
Yes, why not?
Why not? No, why not? No. Say, of course.
Yes, of course.
All right. Would you like to come back? Why not? No, of course you want to come back. Well, I'll be back in about 5 minutes, so don't go too far away. Okay, thank you.